All right, in the last video, you saw my son and I put the cab on the chassis, and it's sitting up pretty high, and the reason for that is these crossbars on the grill. We wanted to sit it above the frame, obviously, but you can probably see here that we're up 7.5 inches off the frame, because the frame drops quite a bit in that center section. The engine's gonna be sitting low and the frame is gonna be high, and I don't want it up that high because then I gotta build brackets to make it that high. What I'm gonna do is cut out this bottom bar. Maybe just section it out first. I can drop that probably a good 4 inches just by doing that. And that will make it sit a lot nicer and closer to the frame. And also, these are 16-inch wheels, 16-inch rims. And if I go bigger, I got plenty of clearance there. However, taller tires, it's gonna sit up pretty high. And the frame, as you can see, is sticking out already. I mean, I'm gonna put running board there, but I don't really see a reason to have to go 7.5 inches off the frame if I can help it. I pulled the fenders off and took the grill out. And what you can see here, I actually sectioned out this little part here, and that is gonna drop everything probably close to 4.5 inches, which means I'm gonna take out 3 of those 2x4s, which is gonna bring it down where it should be. And I don't think I'm gonna have a problem with my steering. There's a knuckle that goes on there, a U-joint. And I might even be able to put the old steering wheel back on here and fab something up. We'll see how that works. In order for me to drop this cab and get everything set up the way I want, first thing I need to do is to make sure that I can get my fenders centered. And from the initial measurements, I need to move these fenders back, maybe 2 or 3 inches, something like that. I don't know. But with the grill now lowered, I can drop this cab down. But before I drop the cab down and get it out of the way so I can measure the fenders, I need to move it back, probably 3 inches. I don't have room to move it back. I guess today what I'll be doing is moving this flatbed about 3 inches back, which means I need to cut some welds and remove a couple brackets. This front brace here is just held on with bolts. So I got bolts on this side to take off and on the other side. Now it would drop if it wasn't for this piece of the square tubing here. That square tubing should hold it up. And then the next thing holding it on is this piece of C-channel here. And that is welded to the frame and the flatbed as well. But I'm just gonna grind off the welds on the frame, and I'll be able to slide this whole thing back, hopefully far enough that I can move the cab back and get the fenders centered. So with that, let's get started. All right, so I removed the bolts on both sides, and there was a toolbox on the side here that I removed. And actually there's a second square tubing there that I did not know about. And so I've ground off the welds on both of those, and out in the back on both sides I got the hitch disconnected. So this thing will lift up. It does lift up. And the gas tanks, this has got 2 gas tanks in it. And the cover over the gas tank's all rusted out. There's actually straps in there holding it together. The frame is good, but the straps for the gas tanks are bad. So I think what I'm gonna do at this point is I am going to take this flatbed off. I'm gonna lift it up, get it out of the way, roll the chassis out of the way, and start working on the chassis itself with removing fuel tanks, since I'm putting a diesel in anyway. And so what I've done is I removed the cab again, pulled that off, and that's going to give me a chance to get everything measured up exactly where I want it. But first, I got to get this thing off. So I've kind of got a plan, and I'll be working on that here shortly. I haven't worked on the truck for a while now. It's been sitting, and the reason was I need to get this flatbed off the chassis. And you may have noticed it's actually in a different spot than where it was before. It was sitting right here before, and I need to get it out of the way because I've got the original chassis here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind off the rivets for the running boards. So I gotta grind those off, and once the running boards are off, I am gonna get rid of this whole chassis. I don't need it anymore. And that will free up space in the shop. And then I can back this into that spot, lift the flatbed off, then roll the chassis forward and start pulling fuel tanks and cleaning it up and everything else. It would also be helpful to do a little cleaning in here as well. So I might get that done soon. So my plan is I'm going to take this 12-foot 4x4, run it across. I got a couple of these sawhorses here. They're rated for 500 pounds each. I think we'll be fine with that. And then in the back, I'm going to jack it up with floor jack off of the hitch, which is attached to the flatbed, and then throw some jack stands under there. I think the issue I'm going to have though is these brackets right here. When I'm sliding those back, they're going to be, or when I'm pulling the frame out, it's going to be sliding along the frame rail, and those two pieces of square tubing there stick out a little bit. So I'm going to have to raise this up over those, but I'm going to worry about that when I get to it. The other thing I'm going to do is take those dualies off of the casters just to drop them down a little bit more, give me a little more travel length, I guess. Here, I'll just show you quick what I'm doing. I jacked up the hitch and then put jack stands under it because the hitch is not hooked up to the frame anymore, but it is hooked up to the flatbed. So I was able to lift the flatbed up with the floor jack, put these jack stands under it, and now I've got the flatbed off of the C-channel. And I was mistaken, I guess I didn't realize this, but actually what I had done is I ground off the welds on the frame of the square, at the square tubing, so they're not gonna be an issue when I pull the frame out. So those brackets right there will just slide along the frame rail until I get to this point, and then I just got to lift it up higher, but not a big deal. So the back end's going to be held with the floor jacks, front end's going to be held with the sawhorses. Maybe it's a little dicey, I don't know, we'll see. But I need to disconnect the fuel line, the filler necks for the two fuel tanks that are in here. I'll take care of that, and then start jacking up the front end. Here's the front fuel neck, and then the other one is down farther on the rail. There's for the second tank. And it looks like the flange is actually part of this whole assembly. So what I'm gonna do is just take it off with the hose on both of these, and then I'll be able to slide everything off. So in order to do that, I've got the old pad there. For old guys like me, this is kind of a lifesaver on the knees. So I'll get started pulling those hoses off. All right, that's a little sketchy, but I picked up the front end of the flatbed with the cherry picker. Yes. All right, that fit in there. Now I just stick a couple feet out. A couple feet out the other side. Went right underneath the sawhorse, of course. So I'm going to have to raise this up quite a bit. Let me show you what I'm doing here. So I got the cherry picker picking up the center, and then I'll move it out a little bit so you can see the sawhorses as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to lift that up and hoping that these jack stands are going to be sitting nice and nothing's going to slip off the back. Not a big deal. If it drops, it's going to drop on the frame, but not my plan. I need to get this high enough so I can get the 4x4 on top of the sawhorses. That might be enough right there. Hopefully this is not too much for that sawhorse. I'm concentrating all the weight kind of in the center of it. I could do it towards one end, but I want the rating of the entire sawhorse. I gotta go up a little more for the other side. Sawhorses look good yet. All right, maybe that's enough. We got the clearance cards. All right, now just gently let it down. Oof, that's a lot of weight. I don't know. I don't dare go any closer to the sawhorses, otherwise it won't clear. Maybe I'll leave that cherry picker on there just for now, as long as I can, just for the clearance. I don't know if this thing's going to roll with that drive shaft like that. I may have to move it. Oh yeah. Actually moves pretty easily. I don't like pulling on my cherry picker already. Look at that. Truck will roll by itself. Stop right there and make some room in the shop here. Get my other truck out of the way. I've got the frame completely out from under the flatbed, and before I start working on it, it looks like it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It's pretty dirty. Got the fuel tanks out. There's just a lot of dirt, grime in here that needs to be cleaned up before I start pulling lines and everything else. And it is February 15th. It's probably going to be 50 degrees out today, so I'm going to take this outside and give it a quick pressure wash while I can. One thing I wanted to mention is you saw me section out this bottom bar on the grill on both sides. Some of you might not like that so much, but I guess the reason I did it is because obviously I wanted to lower it, like I said, to get the fenders down and the cab down and everything else. I didn't want to cut the front of the frame off just yet because I'd like to use it for a bumper, mount it solid. And I figured I could weld the pieces back on that I cut off if I decide to cut the front of the frame off, or just go get another bottom bar and match up the patina. So anyway, this is kind of where I'm going to end this video. And then next one is when I will get the cab in place, throw the fenders on, and figure out ride height on this. If you've watched the entire video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would hit the like button or actually subscribe. It's going to help me out. And remember that if you got a project at home that's kind of stalled, just don't feel overwhelmed. Do little things at a time. Take that F100 back there. That one got to be a project that got to be longer than I anticipated, but I set myself up with towards the end a 6-month goal to get it done for the summer, and I just put on my calendar every day or every night, every weekend. Sometimes it was only once a week, but I just do little things at a time, and you can see that you're going to make some progress. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.